teacher, and today I'm going to be showing you a circle that my children in my class absolutely love to do. Now, my classroom is not set up, so usually there's a rug and it's a little bit more beautiful. We are going to try to do this circle together and see how it goes. Good morning, dear Earth. Good morning, dear sun. Good morning, dear stones and flowers, every one. Good morning, dear beasts and birds in the trees. Good morning to you. Good morning to me. Today we are going to go to London. Take hands and lead your group around the room any way you like until you arrive in London. Here we go to London town, London town, London town. Here we go to London town, so early in the morning. This is the way to London town, London town, London town. This is the way to London town, so early in the morning. Now we're in a circle again, and you can add different poems to this. You could add London Bridges Falling Down as a little game right now. I'm not going to do that one, but you can always add whatever you think of to any of this circle. There was once a great big house in London with an attic, a third floor, a second floor, a first floor, and a basement. Now in the basement, there was a family of mice, and those are our toes. And they were so hungry that their tummies were rumbling and grumbling and grumbling and rumbling. So they ran up to the first floor. They peeked out of their little mousy hole. They didn't see any food, but they did see a great grandfather clock. Hickory, dickory, dock, the mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck 1, and down he did run. Hickory, dickory, dock, tick tock. Do it facing you so you can see it a little better. Hickory, dickory, dock, the mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck 1, and down she did run. Hickory, dickory, dock, tick tock. Hickory, dickory, dock, the mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck 2, and down she flew. Hickory, dickory, dock, tick tock. They didn't find any food on the first floor, so they ran back down to the basement, and their tummies were still rumbling and grumbling and grumbling and rumbling. So they ran up to the first floor and up to the second floor. They peeked out of their wee mousy hole. They didn't see any food, but they did see a kitten. Now this is a little game where most of the children are on the floor crawling, and they crawl all the way until they hear the word run, and then they just crawl faster. There's a rug, so you can always limit the space of the game. So I always say the game stays on the pink rug, because I have a pink rug. And if your group doesn't get wild, you can extend the space. Now, the children are crawling, so they're crawling on all fours with their hands out. And then you pick one child to be a kitten with you. And we're going to go around, and when we say run, then we're going to catch just one mouse each. Come, my kittens, come with me. Let's catch all the mice we see. Mousey, run, we will catch you, you're the one. And now we've each caught one mouse, and so now there are 4 of us. And we're all lined up, and then the other children start crawling again. Come, my kittens, come with me. Let's catch all the mice we see. Mousey, run, we will catch you, you're the one. And then we each catch another one. And then there are 8 kittens. And so in my class, that's about half of the group. So the next time we do it, we'll have caught everybody. Come, my kittens, come with me. Let's catch all the mice we see. Mousey, run, we will catch you, you're the one. And once they're all caught, then you find the circle again. So I always ask the children what happens next. And so they know that you find the circle and then you find your silence or your quiet, so that we can go on to the next part. Well, they didn't find any food on the second floor, so they ran down to the first floor. They ran down to the basement, and their tummies were still rumbling and grumbling and grumbling and rumbling. And you see, I kept my knees straight, so I'm actually getting a good stretch. And when you're on the floor, you do the same thing. You want to include as many therapeutic movements in your circle as you can. So one of the things you can do is add a stretch or a movement that crosses the midline, or when we did the grandfather clock, we had to hold our legs up, which works with the abdomen and core strength. So all those things are very important. So their tummies were still rumbling and grumbling and grumbling and rumbling. So they ran up to the first floor, up to the second floor, and up to the third floor. They peeked out of their wee mousy holes. They didn't see any food, but they did see an old woman knitting. La 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 la. You can imagine her rocking chair going back and forth. And then switch feet. The little old woman was making wee little mousy clothes. She was making wee little mousy caps. She was making wee little mousy mittens. She was making wee little mousy shorts. She was making wee little mousy shirts. And so after you've done that one day, the next day you can ask the children to raise a silent candle if they know what the woman was making. And then each of them gives you something that she was making. Then each of the little mice crawled up onto her lap, and she put something special on each and every one of them. One got a wee little mousy scarf. One got a wee little mousy cap. One got wee little mousy socks. And one got wee little mousy gloves. When they had their new clothes on, they thanked her by saying, "Squeak, squeak, squeak, squeak." And they ran down to the second floor, down to the first floor, down to the basement. And their tummies were still rumbling and grumbling and grumbling and rumbling. So they ran up to the first floor, up to the second floor, up to the third floor, and all the way up to the attic. They peeked out of their wee mousy holes. And they smelled something. It was delicious. They followed their noses all the way to a giant table. They climbed up the table legs and onto the tabletop. There on the table, they found a plate with a big chunk of cheese and lots of crackers. Somebody had just put out a snack for themselves. The mice, they ate and they ate and they ate and they ate until there was nothing left of that cheese and not one cracker left. And the crumbs were flying in all directions. And then they heard a door shut. Quickly, they ran back to the floor, down the table legs, back to their mousy hole, down to the third floor, down to the second floor, down to the first floor, and all the way down to the basement. And do you know what? Their tummies were no longer rumbling and grumbling and grumbling and rumbling. So they took a nice, long nap. Now it's time for the setting sun. Day is over and night begun. Whippoorwill, whippoorwill has just begun. I often end a circle with a little quiet time. So now would be a good time just to have them lie down. And it's nice to have them lie down on their backs. There's something that happens when you're on your back, and just lying down, you can release into the earth. And it's a different kind of resting than when they're taking a nap. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope you learned something that you can use.